we're out back of a venue in Baltimore called Auto Bar.
Okay.
And Garrison is like, "Aren't you the guy from YouTube? Didn't you cover our song?" I'm like, "Shut up! You're on my headliner."
Quality mic coming in on my feed, so I guess that makes sense if you're a vocalist. So
I'm using my stage mic right now.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I have the SM7B, which is what everybody else uses for this type of stuff, but it's so flat. I just hate hearing the color of the mic in my head.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a boring. It's so dry to me. It's got no flavor.
Yeah, and I've seen like bigger podcasts use just as simple like setups, just like this.
Yeah, as long as it's clear, I don't really care. But I mean, hearing my own voice back, you know,
I feel that. Cool.
I have a preference.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. This is another episode of the Scoped Exposure podcast. Me from like 10 years ago would have been very, very excited about this episode that I'm getting to do. So I'm getting to sit down with JT.
God, that just makes me feel old.
No,
like I've
dude.
been doing this for 10 years.
No, I've
it doesn't feel like that.
Well, excuse me.
But I guess technically you're probably almost right. We're coming up on a year.
Yeah. So do you prefer to go by JT or Joseph, or what's your
I've been telling people I rebranded as Joseph, but just call me JT.
Cool, gotcha. JT,
Yeah.
for like the 5 people who are watching or listening who might not know who you are, can you just do like a little intro about how you be known and what bands you're a part of?
Yes, thank you. I front the band called ERRA, based out of Birmingham, Alabama. I have the role of screaming and leading mosh pits and teasing people at the merch table. But you're going to hear some singing from me on the upcoming record, which is going to be cool.
Ooh, interesting. Cool.
A little premiere. That's like a secret. We've only talked about this like in a video setting. We've mentioned that once on an Instagram live that we did like last week.
Right.
And then here's the second time.
Exclusive shit.
Exclusive info.
I love that. And yeah, like I definitely want to talk about kind of the current stuff that you're doing. And we had mentioned just before we started recording that I like to always get context on all our guests on how they got into heavier music. And then
Sure.
I think it'd be really cool to kind of talk on how you kind of transitioned from kind of being in kind of like maybe local bands into your first band, which is, you know, probably a few people know is the anyone who's only listening to the audio stuff is really missing out on JT's backgrounds. But yeah, we'll talk about. Yeah, you have a collection. The Tiger King. Cool. Well, so JT, let's back it up and just give me a little bit of an intro, like not even how you started playing in bands, but just how you got into heavier music in general. What were kind of the formative years? What were the formative albums for you?
Wow. Well, my parents spun a lot of vinyl in the house when I was a kid. My mom listened to a lot of disco and dance music. My dad was like kind of your classic rock kind of guy. They both spun Zeppelin. My dad loved AC/DC. My mom loved like Peaches and Herb, Janet Jackson. I heard some Little Feat growing up, Creedence Clearwater Revival, like you name it. They're big music buffs. Both kind of musically inclined, but not really.
Sure.
This is distracting, isn't it?
No, you're good. No, you're fine.
But yeah, I mean, even stand up. I heard like Eddie Murphy's comedian record, which is vulgar still to today's standards. When I was like 12.
Wow.
You know, they just like media through TV and music was not a rarity in our house,
right?
Which was cool.
Something was always playing in the background.
Yeah, whether it was Sesame Street or Eddie Murphy. But yeah, I always loved music. I did music stuff in school. I didn't really play any instruments. They didn't like put me in any like band camp or anything like that. I was just always around music, and I wouldn't really say something really jumped me over the edge quickly. It was like a gradual process, being an athlete, listening to heavy stuff over the years, and then like kind of just searching for something that was always heavier, like different and more aggressive. Slipknot was an early band that I feel like everybody discovered. I was like, oh
yeah,
this exists.
Yeah, I've done plenty of podcasts where people always mention like the first Slipknot record, because especially watching like,
oh dude,
yeah,
dude, it's 99. That's when that came out. That's how old that is.
Yeah.
Disturbed was a really early one for me. I still love Disturbed.
Yeah. The 10,000 Fists era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, dude. Fuck that. Self-titled.
That. Oh, self-titled.
Sickness. Right. Or it's the Sickness. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like 01, I think, when that came out. But for some reason, 3 albums stick out in my head because I bought at once. It was Papa Roach, Love, Hate, Tragedy, Limp Bizkit, Significant Other. I don't think they all came out the same year. I think I just all bought them at once.
Yeah.
And I think Puddle of Mud, Come Clean, which is so funny to me right now because of how much shit Wes is getting over that cover that he did of Nirvana. And yeah, it is rough. It is rough, but I don't really know the specifics of what happened with that cover or why it was done the way it was done, but I still love Puddle of Mud. I don't give a shit. Props
to like all the bandmates who are just kind of like smiling through those horrific vocals.
Yeah, I mean you could see the guitarist probably trying to keep it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, like again, I don't know the specifics of him in that situation, but it's probably not their favorite performance.
Yeah, and that band is old enough that they maybe don't understand like how fast like meme culture can kind of spread and turn something that was hopefully a positive into a negative.
Yeah, that's true. And people are fucking mean.
Yeah.
And people like that don't get it, don't give a shit about them, or don't know, are just going to like rip you to shreds.
Yeah.
The internet's a scary place.
Yeah. And like I guess some people would argue like all press is good press in a way.
Nah, but I disagree. If you Google my name, on the front page of Reddit is an article that I accidentally created about a joke of me eating ass.
What? How did you accidentally create that?
Well, I love Reddit and I'm very active on the metalcore subreddit.
Sure.
And I don't even know if I could talk about this on your podcast, but I'm going to.
Okay. Well, we can cut it out in post if we.
Well, no, I don't care. It's out there.
Right.
It's funny to me. I don't know what type of audience you have, but
it ranges. It ranges from so like hardcore kids to like some random lady at the dog park who was like, "You have a podcast?" So shout out to Rose if you're listening.
It relatively light then.
Sure.
Metalcore users of Reddit wanted to know who in the scene performed this specific sexual act, and they're like JT Cavey definitely, and I screenshotted it and I was like, sometimes internet knows too much. As a joke, I thought it was funny.
Right.
I thought it was really funny, and then they're like, confirmed JT Cavey does in fact, and
oh my goodness.
So I obviously chimed in to the thread, and it was a shit show.
Yeah.
Really funny, really funny stuff. Gross stuff in there too. Don't go searching. I mean, maybe
if you really want to know,
funny.
you can. Yeah,
It's funny. So if you Google my name, unfortunately, that for me is on the front page. Hopefully not for everybody. It's probably just because of my cookies, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't want it to exist. But I could very much easily delete a lot of this shit, so it wouldn't. But it's so funny.
Yeah, it's too funny to not have public.
If I have to apply for a real job one day, I'll figure out how to get it removed.
Oh, that's funny. Man, 10 minutes in, and we've got down some really cool trades.
Listen, Amazon. This is just part of my resume. You just have to accept it.
Yeah. Wow. We're off to the races here. So
I don't know how we even got there, but here we are.
Well, yeah, I'll have to listen back. So you were mentioning some of the formative records. You know, music was a big piece in your home, and I've heard that from a few other like pretty like I wouldn't say influential, but like people who are like very active in music. Like I listened to a podcast with Isaac from Knock Loose, and he was like, yeah, like my dad was into music, my mom was into music, so like naturally that was the culture that I was like brought up in. So you know, it's
where's Isaac from again?
From Louisville, Kentucky.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oldham.
Yeah. Oldham County.
Dude, I like Louisville's a cool city. I dated somebody from there for a bit, and I was there a couple times. I got some friends there. Yeah. The drummer from Siler also lives there. Love Cody.
Cool. Yeah, like that's a big at least like I have mad props for people that kind of create festivals and musical things to kind of put their city on the map or on the radar. Like from where I'm from in Winnipeg, like we weren't really
you're from Winnipeg?
Yeah, Winnipeg, Manitoba.
I thought you said you lived in Calgary.
Yeah, I moved out here maybe almost 3 years ago now.
Man, what's that venue? Don't tell me. It's the old movie theater. Oh man, dude, you guys had the security guard who was a wrestler, bro.
Well, I know what venue you're talking about, but
what's the venue?
The Park Theater?
No.
Oh no.
It's a longer name. It's
the West End Cultural Center.
I'm looking it up. I gotta find. Hold on.
Oh, the Burton Cummings Theater.
The what?
That's a real person.
Venue. No, bro. Hold on. It's called. Unless they changed the name.
Yeah, I'm not sure because it's either maybe after I moved, but like. I think this is the G. The Garrick Center?
The Garrick. Garrick.
Oh, okay.
The Garrick. That's it.
Yeah. I like, to be honest, I can't even recount the last Garrick show that I went to. Dude. For those listening. Place is... Yeah. So it's a massive.
It's big. It's big.
It's massive, and the floor is slanted down.
Yeah. Well, it's an old movie theater, so you got the pit area is literally the floor seats for the movie.
Right. Yeah. And then there's
like a modern decimated movie theater.
Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe the types of bands and shows that I would go to just maybe went downhill because like there was less like bigger venues that a lot of those shows were at. It's more like, I mean, hey, here's
intimate.
Yeah.
I like 300, 500 cab rooms anyways. Yeah. It's just more fun for me.
Yeah. I'm more like, oh, here's a room that like 100 people can like squeeze into and break fire codes.
So. Also cool.
Yeah. So
I mean, I'll do a floor show. I don't give a shit. I got no equipment.
Yeah. You got a mic.
It's my guitar players that get all worried, bent out of shape because people are like hitting their mic stand and hitting them when they're trying to play a tapping solo with their eyes closed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So going back, formative years, being in music, what were kind of like your first kind of like musical things that you were involving yourself, whether that was like playing in bands or doing other things?
Gospel choir.
Oh, interesting.
I went to an all boys Catholic school, in Baltimore, Maryland. My dad went there, and two of my uncles went there. My mother worked for the dining services there. She was like a big, well-known caterer from the Baltimore County. She came in and revamped the entire catering cafeteria or menu or whatever. She was highly involved in the cafeteria stuff, and some of those recipes they still use today. It's crazy. This was like in the 70s.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have a choice when I was picking my high school.
Right.
Some history there, but yeah, I did gospel choir there for 3 years, and I was a teenager, so I was like, you're just diving into the most influential shit of your life at that age.
Sure.
I think a big early album for me was so the Census Fail record that had it was right the Census Fail record that came out right before Let It Enfold You. I can't remember the name. I think it's a number 187, or no, that's the song. Well, that I guess don't remember that well. That band was pretty big. Of course, like old metalcore, like As Lay Dying, Killswitch Engage, Trivium, In Flames, Still Remains. I'm such like a mid 2000s metalcore baby.
Yeah,
like I love any metalcore album that came out from like 03 to 09. I rip to death.
Right.
Oh, Darkest Hour. Big Darkest Hour fan.
Right.
Very underrated pitch screamer. Very underrated. Or just, I don't hear people talk about him enough. He's like so good. He's been good forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those bands. I don't know. I listen to everything though. Like I'm such a Drake fan. The Weeknd, Eminem. I'm slowly getting the country. I love synthwave. I've been really deep into Denzel Curry right now. I've been listening to so much hip hop.
Do you listen to Orville Peck or know who that is?
Anderson Paak?
No, Orville Peck.
That sounds so familiar.
So he's like a country artist that has like he plays with a mask, and he's from Toronto. And
cool.
Like, I said this on I said this on a last podcast, and no one like corrected the record, so I was going off the top of my head, but I think he used to play in some like punk and hardcore bands like back in the day, but now he's like a country artist, so he's got like a little bit of understanding, a little bit of like grit in some of his country music. And I'm not a country person per se by any means, but I like his new stuff is like, okay, yeah, I throw this on.
Well, that's funny because I just discovered an artist called Thundercat, and he was the bass player for Suicidal Tendencies for like 11 years.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And
but
he's doing
look at him and his
now?
music. No, he's doing like R&B, hip, like, and he does the R&B stuff, but he's like he like plays with like, he's got collaborations with like Childish Gambino and Ty Dolla $ign.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Or is it maybe it's Tyga or something, but still like he's involved with like modern hip hop.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And that's a super cool thing to see, like, you know, artists really like not break out, but like really just not get stuck in one little box and just try a bunch of different shit.
That's the hard part for every artist, honestly.
Yeah. Shout out to my friend Hove. He was playing in a bunch of hardcore bands, and then he started like a dark wave, like electronic synth project. Yeah.
Send me that after
this. I will. Shout out Viva Non. It's super dancey, super groovy. I love it.
I love stuff like that. Cool.
Yeah. So obviously something that at least how I was introduced to you was like me back in the day, like being in like high school and stuff, like YouTubing like certain things as far as like vocal covers.
I'm on YouTube every fucking day, man. It sucks.
But that's how I originally
YouTube.
found you, is like there's a plethora of people covering different kinds of music, but you were doing like vocal covers of, you know, The Ghost Inside, August Burns Red, those kind of bigger bands at the time. So we won't dwell on that too much just because there's a plethora of other things, but talk to me a little bit about that original thought of like the first time you wanted to make a piece of content like that, because I'm like super passionate, at least for our project, of like encouraging musicians and bands to like make more shit on top of their music and stuff like that. Like I feel like we're just kind of pushing into an idea where people are like bringing a photographer on for an entire tour, but like there's so many things that people can be doing even just internally to make more content for people. So can you talk to me a little bit about those kind of that first decision? Because ultimately, if you didn't kind of make that first video, then you and I definitely wouldn't be here right now.
Right. It's kind of funny to think about. Well, just to be clear, like the reason I did the covers is completely different from the reason why I think bands should be encouraged to keep producing content.
Sure.
Because that's a really good point too. We could talk about that. But as far as the covers go, I was just at a point in my life where I wasn't really doing anything fulfilling, because I kind of went through like some like just changes, and then I like lost something that brought me that fulfillment. So like I think I was just searching for something to just work on, like a hobby, and I was driving like a half an hour to work every day at the time and listening to music as usual. I don't know when I like came across vocal covers. Like I would assume it was probably the same year when I started practicing, but it was, I don't know. Like I always thought being a musician was cool, specifically being a singer. So when I saw other people like that look like me practicing vocals and doing covers and like doing a good job, and like it was like really cool to watch on YouTube, I was like, damn, I can do that. Like I want to try that. Like I had the technology.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing, is like some of these covers, like the format was like really cringy. So I was like, man, if I could scream, I could do like a way better job. And these guys are getting like so many views. So like being the tech guy that I am, like, all right, I can use lights, and I can use this little pocket camera that I got from Costco in like 2010.
Right.
That slowly got upgraded to actually this webcam. But yeah, I was practicing vocals, and I like taught myself how to scream over a couple months, and I like just modeled my voice over people that I liked, and my voice kind of just sprouted through. You know, you can, if you don't know how to scream and you just try to practice and figure it out, you're never going to sound exactly how you think you're going to sound when it finally does come out. Sure. Because everybody's just got their own inflection.
Yeah. Do you think your voice has kind of like, sorry to cut you off. Do you think your voice has kind of changed like from those like first kind of few months?
Dude, yeah. Well, it's cool because I have 90% of the stuff I did, so I can like go back and see how my voice physically changed over time. I mean, I can hear it on records now.
For sure.
But especially back then. But yeah, I don't know. I just made the covers, and like I didn't really think anything of it at the time. It became something way bigger than I ever knew it was going to be. Yeah. Oddly enough, and I just did it to be for like look for some fulfillment. Just to have something to work towards, and work on. I don't know.
Yeah,
and it was to fill a creative void in my life. It really was.
Yeah, and it's interesting to talk about it like now that like every person and their mother is like trying to be like a social influencer to a degree, like always trying to like make content or try to do brand deals. Like this, I think that like that was the era of YouTube where people were just making shit because they wanted to, like there was something.
Right.
And I'm kind of in the same way, like, you know, this podcast isn't monetized or anything, and that's not like my end goal with it. It's like I want to create value and meaningful conversations with people in the music industry. So it's very strange to like think about just the difference in you know, in a 10-year time frame. So I think so what was kind of like like you said, like you didn't really anticipate that was really going to go anywhere. It's just something that you could know that you checked that off your box. What was the first, not necessarily opportunity you got with it, that kind of transitioned into you like playing in more like actual full-time bands?
Well, just like gaining popularity from it, not just like when I first started to figure out that like my friends like nearby would see it because I was posting about it and sharing it. Like I would do the cover, I would share it on my Facebook. I would go to anybody that had subscribed to me on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I would also post it on the band page of the band I did it for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would just use all my resources because like if I'm gonna put all this effort in, I might as well like try to get it out there. So I did that. Like the goal was to try to get as much interaction with the cover and views on it as possible. So he posted there and try to get the band to see it. And sometimes the band would repost it, which was awesome. Sometimes they would reach out and say, you know, like do this with us in our city or whatever. Mm-hmm. That didn't happen as much. It was more the other way around. It was more like I try to find them at their show and be like, hey, let me do this part. Yeah. Yeah, I think when I realized it was like this was like something when people I didn't know saying you are the guy from YouTube, I was like, I am.
Right.
Yeah, it's like it surprised me. I was like, oh, this is like actually working and becoming a thing. I should probably keep it up. Mm-hmm. People seem to like it and I like doing it. So yeah, it just snowballed. Like it was a literal accident.
Yeah,
I just did it for fun.
And I think it was just in that like realm of like you know, this is the same time, at least from my perspective, where I was seeing like Luke Holland doing a bunch of drum covers.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then he would like then he announced that he was joining a band and people were like, oh, this is crazy. And then
keep talking, I'm sorry.
No, you're all good. But yeah, seeing different bands like sourcing out like full-time members through covers and things like that. And I think there was it was I don't know if it necessarily was a risky move, but there was always this thing, at least from a vocal front, when a band kind of switches to have a new full-time, you know, it's the voice of the band, like that can really kind of change the thing. So when you joined up with Texas in July and you guys put out like that first song, I was like blown away by just like how seamless of a transition it felt. Like it felt like you were just doing stuff like, well, and knowing your history of like how much vocal stuff that you were doing prior, like that all makes sense now to me.
Dude, I mean that the Texas in July stuff was fucking crazy, dude. I was at work. It was like 20. How did it become so fucking dark in my room all of a sudden? Sorry.
That's all good. You're looking a little like Thanos right now.
Yeah,
well, you're about to snap your hands.
I just got this LED light. There we go.
Yeah.
But if you grab, it's touch sensitive, so if you grab it at the base, it goes to like,
oh, I see,
that mode.
Yeah.
Sorry, just trying to get some light in here. What'd you ask me?
Texas. Sorry. I think we were talking about Texas in July.
Yeah. So, yeah, the opportunity coming up was pretty wild. Like I was just at work and I think I got a message from Chris Davis and he was just like, hey, this is happening. And we know that you do covers and we like your voice. You want to try out? And I was just like, is this real?
Right.
It's crazy. And yeah, that's when I knew it was game over. Like this is what was happening.
Yeah.
I had to drive like an hour north to go try out. And then, they told me the schedule that they had Warped Tour plan. I was like, so you want me to try out for your band? I've never done this before. And you want me to play on Warped Tour? I don't know what to say. I guess. I was speechless. Like I was very happy, but I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Why are you allowing me to do this for your band?
Right.
But they had enough patience to teach me the ropes, and I had like 5-6 shows worth of local band experience, and that was it.
Yeah. What was your we probably skipped over that, but like did you have like a first band that you played in prior to that?
Yeah, well, kind of. I played in a local band called Above All.
Okay.
Don't look it up.
Don't look it up.
Okay. I love you, Aaron. He was a member of my band. We still love that project, but We've both done better things since then. So
As the progression of
it's near
bands
and
is normally.
it's near and dear to our hearts, but don't look it up. It sounds like it sounds like 2013 me.
Gotcha. So at least with the stuff with Texas, was like, did you had I'm assuming you must have covered at least one of their songs for them to kind of imagine what it would sound like, or was there like, okay, we know kind of what things are going to be like already?
I think I know I did a video of It's Not My First Rodeo, which is a song off their, like, one of their first records.
Yeah.
But it was actually done in my local band's practice studio, like with the practice mic, and like I think it was either at the end of practice or before practice or something. It was like a different format of the rest of the covers. I didn't keep it up very long because the quality wasn't that great, but I did technically do one.
Yeah. But
I didn't cover a lot of others. I did know them. They actually weren't a band I was listening to as much. I think I only had one record, so at the time. Wait, no, that's not true.
I think there was two.
Yeah, oh yeah, because
and
3. And no, because Self-Titled was like 2012. Well, I didn't really listen to Self-Titled as much until I dove into the band.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Good old TIJ.
Yeah. So, yeah, you joined up with them. You kind of like hit it right away. And then what was surprising to me, at least, like that was the last album cycle for that band. Because it disbanded. And I think I maybe had a little bit more connection to you in the band just because I watched your videos and stuff. So I was like, you know, I'm not sure how the decision was that was made, but did you feel like cheated in a way that it was like, I just joined up with this band and now I'm kind of like at square one in a way?
For sure. I think I didn't really felt cheated. Like, there's nothing I really could have done. I was definitely, you know, it's funny. I was less, now that I think about it, I think I was like less, I'm surprised I wasn't more upset. Like, I was upset, but like I wasn't, like I guess I didn't consider the fact that ERRA never could have happened. Like, my future could have not been set in stone like it felt like it already is.
Right.
But yeah, it's like I put everything into that basket. Everything.
Right.
So like I technically, I think I still had a job technically, but you know, I dropped out of school and like, you know, I try to make this new thing work. Like, I had just started and they had been invested for years and they're like, yeah, we don't really want to do this anymore. I'm like, well, all right. Yeah, actually, that's weird. Now that I think about it, I'm like, I'm surprised I didn't freak out more. Maybe I did. I just don't remember. Yeah. Because the transition was pretty seamless. Like I don't know, like 2 or 3 months after I knew that we were going to break up, like I knew what I was doing after already.
Right.
Like I knew by like we broke up officially like last show December, and I knew in August, the August prior, that I was going to be in ERRA. So I had like plenty of overlap.
And was that something that
I got very lucky.
Yeah. Was that something that you kind of like shot a message to the guys, or you're like how?
No, they knew. They knew. They were happy for me. Yeah, like Jesse called me in like August of 2015. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing after Texas?" And I was like, "I have no idea." At the time, I was like, hopefully a band that sounds like a mix between Bury Your Dead and Chevelle.
Wow, what a mix!
I was like, he's like, you want to join another metalcore band? Sure.
Yeah.
I was pretty happy because I liked ERRA. We had brought ERRA on tour as a direct support band in 2014. It's kind of funny. I remember Garrison. We're out back of a venue in Baltimore called Auto Bar.
Okay.
And Garrison is like, "Aren't you the guy from YouTube? Didn't you cover our song?" I'm like, "Shut up. You're on my headliner." He called me like TJ to fuck with me. Piece of shit. I love that guy. But yeah. Yeah, I got very lucky. The transition was very seamless. It wasn't really difficult given that I had already been in a metalcore band, just had less to do on stage because I had somebody that sang with me.
Yeah.
It went very well.
Yeah. Is that kind of the biggest difference you feel like between Texas and ERRA, as far as like the vocal duties are like a little bit more, not split up, but like there's stuff that you can pass on the singing front as well? Because Texas, it was funny. Just you.
Well, it's funny to think about because I still get my ass whooped after a set sometimes. So it would be funny to see how a headliner of Texas songs would do with me now. I feel like I would crush it, but I'm not sure. I feel like some of the ERRA content has just more words, and it's like I feel like the Texas stuff might be a little more spaced out and less physically exhaustive. I can't really. It's hard to say.
Right.
I have to play it. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, in general, it is nice to have the breakup on stage. But sometimes the hard part is like, since it's two vocalists and I don't have a duty sometimes, like in some songs, my roles are spaced out. Like I might have like a 30-second gap somewhere. I have to like, what do I do with my hands for this whole time? You teach yourself how to, you teach yourself like some crowd interactions, like and ways to keep yourself busy that like you weren't really necessarily intended for you.
Right.
Like you give yourself a job, like extra work just to keep the lull. But it's the break is nice. And just the dynamic is nice. And like to talk about the difference between the bands, just like, different people. So that's just naturally different. The music is different. Your whole team is different. Actually, half of our team was people I actually already knew and worked with. So that's not entirely true.
Right.
But yeah, just like everything was different. The only thing that was the same was it was still a heavy music.
Yeah. And as far as the things that are happening with that band, like kind of pre-quarantine and whatnot, what are you guys currently kind of working on and working towards?
Well, we went to the studio February, I think. And I left the studio like March 10th. I was there for 3 weeks to head home to go back to work because I kind of like burned through my bank account being in there.
Right.
And I work at a bar. So to find out that our nation has this like this national and then global virus problem and everything was shutting down, I was like, well, fuck.
Yeah. Nobody deserves, unfortunately.
Yeah. Jesse had been in there for like 5 weeks, and our drummer goes in to finish the last week of drums. It's funny, by the 16th, I was unemployed, but the record was done. And that same week, Grant and Carson, our producers, had to pull their brand new Mac Pros out of the studio because the studio shut down. They're leasing the Think Loud studio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're just tenants technically. But yeah, that's the last thing we were working on. We just did Europe in the late winter, or actually early winter, with August Burns Red and Currents. That went really well. Came home, did the studio stuff, and here we are. We have like obviously the rollout plan for the studio of how like singles going to come out, music videos, all that stuff, some other announcements, but
is that stuff that you've already kind of worked on and is kind of just in the editing phase, so to speak?
No, I mean we're almost done with mixes. The record sounds amazing. That's like a whole nother conversation. But like with the virus, like I don't know what the rollout's going to be now. Like because ideally you want to tour off the release. Like that's just like the standard, the rule of thumb. So finding bands that will tour, that if you're going to do a headliner, you got to find the bands that'll do the tour with you. And then B, if you want to be a support band on a bigger tour, you got to find that tour and their offer, they accept your offer.
Yeah.
But now with like, who knows what's going to happen with the virus changes and everybody's getting rescheduled. I mean, shit, you had bands from Australia fly in to play a week of shows, and they had bought their flight back to their home country like 2 weeks in advance, like 2 weeks later, and their tour's already canceled. Like they're fucked. Shit's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So much money lost.
Yeah. And it's, you know,
It's terrifying.
yeah,
We're all self-employed. Like we pay our own, cash our own checks. So
yeah.
when that rug gets pulled out from under your feet, it's really scary.
Yeah. I did laugh a lot at you. You posted a video of you just like unemployed roommate versus
screaming at my roommate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to fuck with him a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Like it's I've never seen something in my short lifetime on this earth be halted so drastically and so immediately.
Our parents didn't even experience anything like this.
Yeah.
It's definitely a first.
Yeah, like a tour that I was really looking forward to seeing. I think it was originally scheduled for beginning of May.
I hope it's the same tour I was gonna be missing too.
Ms. Sigs.
Oh, well, fuck you. Geese, you're Canadian. You can get them. Dude, I literally have "Face Yourself" tattooed right there.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, but the tour was actually, you know, to be fair, Western Canada, where I'm from, doesn't get a lot of tours routed up this way just because it's like a harder market to hit at times.
We have great shows in Western Canada. We just rarely get over there.
Yeah. Well, it's especially if you're from Alabama, like that's, you know, kind of a big jaunt.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, you know, I film a lot of sets. I don't know if you had seen that when I originally reached out, but like my whole goal is like to, you know, showcase the scene. So people who are booking shows or other bands are like, hey, this Calgary place kind of looks cool. Like, let's check that out. So, Misery Signal. So that tour was with,
so good.
End, Chamber, and Neck of the Woods. And
damn.
Yeah, heavy
I don't know
hitters.
that Neck of the Woods, but I know Chamber and End.
Neck of the Woods.
That's cool.
And I apologize if this is incorrect, but I think they're a band from Vancouver.
Okay.
But yeah, like End, a band I never thought I was gonna be able to see live just because of it being such a side project kind of band for a lot of those guys.
Right.
And Chamber is just insanely good.
I'm pretty sure Misery Signals is one of Brendan's like favorite bands, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah, they're kind of like.
So I'm sure he was probably pretty bummed too.
Mm-hmm. Well, that tour has been rescheduled for, I think it's like November, and I'm like, thank you for actually rescheduling it and coming back. But you know, if anyone's toured like Western Canada in November, it's like, all right, like throw on those snow tires, like it's gonna be a chilly one.
Bro, -23 when we were in Winnipeg last. Jesus.
Yeah. What month? Do you remember what month that was out of the year?
I don't even remember the tour.
It was probably like August. Because we'll get like flash winters like that.
No, it was cold. Was it an ABR tour? I can't remember.
Yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah, I think
it was.
I'm trying to remember because it's so many moons ago as far as when I went to a Garrick show. Since you brought it up, I'll share my favorite Garrick show story. I'm trying to remember who played. I think A Day to Remember was playing.
Oh, and damn, that must have been a long time ago.
But and my brain might be foggy on this, but I remember it was a mixed bill tour because Whitechapel was also playing.
Dude, I want more of these. I want ERRA to play some of these.
Yeah, and people were like being pulled out of the pit and being like, it was just madness because there's all these like people in the A Day to Remember Pac-Man t-shirts just getting knocked out to like Whitechapel fans.
Depending on the year, I feel like that could work.
Right. It was like
2012,
2013.
Yeah, 2011. Yeah, I feel like that would have worked then. Maybe not so much now. They're pretty different now.
Yeah, it's very like.
Plus, that wouldn't work because they would never play that venue because it's too small.
Yeah, it's true.
I would love to see like a big band play. I love when big bands play small shows. Like when Norma Jean did that like house tour. Did you see that?
I don't think I saw that specifically.
You familiar with Norma Jean? I'm sure.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
They did a tour of just like house shows, like real small, like 50 to 100 kids.
That's cool. Yeah.
Real intimate.
I think like Expire is canceled as a band, but like they did a documentary where they just did like house shows, and they did the whole
That's
tour
sick.
house shows and put it together, and that's always sick. I've always like, you know, the times are just a little different where it's like, if, you know, like as far as a bigger hardcore band from where I'm from, like Comeback Kid, if they were doing like a really intimate 100-person cap, like 24-hour notice kind of show, like I don't know if like in the state or like the time frame of where we are, if that would like sell out and get as crazy as it was, you know, because and I've talked to many friends about this, but it's almost like there's like so many things to do nowadays where like maybe 10 years ago it was like going to shows was the thing to do.
Well, 10 years ago, I mean, yeah, I mean, YouTube did exist and people were taking videos of shows. Like, we didn't have 4K video on our phones 10 years ago.
It's true. Yeah.
I mean, maybe not as prevalent as we do now. Like, the ability to have content of like high quality live video content of bands you like is so much easier than it was back then. It's so much easier to see now and hear now.
Yeah. So
that's like the thing I think about. It's like, why do I want to spend $200 to go see Post Malone in an arena to pay $40 to park and all that shit, where I can just not do any of that and look it up online or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I get that. But then again, there's some bands that like, obviously you can't, there's no amount of income that can pay for like an experience.
Right.
That's what the live show is supposed to be about. You're supposed to be I feel like the whole goal of being a live artist is to like have some sort of factor that you have live that you can't obtain unless you see it, unless you're there.
Yeah.
I feel like every band should strive for that goal.
Yeah.
I know we do. I know I do.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's like loads of people who will like look up an ERRA live set because maybe they haven't.
It sounds like I'm talking shit on your job, doesn't it?
No, because I totally agree.
I do it too, because I've done it too. Like I've created the content as well.
Yeah, because I've been guilty of like, you know, since we brought up Louisville, like LDB Fest is like a big hardcore fest that happens there.
Dude, I just watched a video from that like a couple days ago. Ironically, it was Drain.
Was it? Yeah.
Drain.
Fucking love that band. So good. But that's the thing where it's like, oh, like maybe I'll just watch Steven's videos because at least for me, like I'm a married dude. I have a dog. He's like sleeping over there. So like the festivals that I choose to go through throughout the year, usually only pan out as ones that I'm involved, like filming in. So like for me to just to go to like hang out with homies, like I would love to do that, but like, you know, priorities and, you know, like if it's like I'm going there to work and I'm going to come home with 30 sets that I can edit and drum cams and blah, blah, blah. It's a different story. But as far as, you know, LDB is concerned, that's a fest that I, you know, Steven, who's a homie of mine, he films that. And like, this year I was like, like I would like to go, but just like time wise, it didn't line up for me to, you know, because it's expensive to fly to a different part of the world, you know, figure out how you're going to stay with people or get a hotel or whatever it is. And then like there's the cost,
bro.
Just like
next time you want to come down, that's only 5 hours north. Fly into Birmingham, you can stay with me. We'll just both go.
Hell yeah, let's do that. 2021 LDB. I'm gonna hold you to that. I'm gonna send you this.
Well, clip. That's fine. As long as I'm not on tour, make it a thing. Because I would love to go.
Yeah,
I'm probably gonna go anyways. So
yeah,
might as well just fly down. I'll take you.
Hell yeah. But like again, like everything that we're saying is like you saw a video. I've seen numerous amount of videos from that festival, and it's like the anticipation for that goes. It's not just like, all right, cool, like that's taken care of. I can just sit at home and like it's a way to feel involved. But when you see people like going crazy or like certain surprises happening. Like Knocked Loose wasn't supposed to play that at all, but like they did a surprise set, and so that's like extra special for all the people who were there and were like,
yeah,
Knocked Loose is on stage, what? So
I mean, you can't smell the dirt and the sweat and concrete, the wet concrete in your bedroom unless you gotta go.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. Yeah,
there's you got to get all the senses stimulated, you know.
Yeah, because like I think I think the argument of like, oh well, if someone films a show, I can just watch it online, like I think it's
the same.
It's not the same, and I think it's a very cop out way.
But that's the thing, is like
to argue that
these kids that don't like the younger generation, that like they don't know better unless they go.
Right.
They think like, oh, this high quality video is exactly what the show's like. No.
Yeah.
That's why people are spending half of their guarantees on just production, because the live experience is everything. Yeah. It's not just like it's not just audio. It's visual. It's emotional.
Yeah.
Like there's so many factors to it.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can attest, like, you know, whether it's a band like ERRA that like puts in a lot of production value versus a band that's like super stripped down and is a hardcore band, like the energy level is still the same. Like once the guitars will feed back and play together, like there's something that can't be replicated digitally by any means.
Here's a short story for you. There's a perfect example of that. I think it was 2 years ago. We supported a co-headliner with the Acacia Strain and After the Burial. Mm-hmm. And we played a venue in Milwaukee called The Rave.
Okay.
And The Rave has like 3 or 4 rooms. It's huge. Like one room is like, I don't know, 200, 300. We played in like a middle room, which was around 700. But in the big room, or one of the big rooms, was Thrice.
Wow.
Which is one of my favorite bands of all time. And I had never seen them live, ever.
Right.
So we rushed to our sound check to make their sound check. And I remember having like a literal experience. Like, and that is a perfect example.
And that was just production. In sound check. I'm sure at the
it was
actual
just sound
show
check.
It would be insane.
It was one of my favorite bands. I almost made it better because there was like 8 of us at the back of the room, kind of just watching their sound check. There's like maybe 20 people in the entire room. Mm-hmm. And some of the songs like I've been listening to for a while, and like some are new, but just the fact that this was a band that I like remember growing up in high school listening to, and just, you know, hearing it in person is just so astronomically different. Mm-hmm. And then watching it in person was so different from just hearing it over the years or whatever recent stuff, just not ever seeing them live. Oh my God.
Yeah.
If it's like a band that really matters to you and it's really important to you. Yeah. It's live shows matter.
Yeah. And especially like,
I'm sure a lot of people are really, really missing their live experiences right now.
Yeah. And
whatever genre it is.
Yeah. And arguably, like the value of an archivist like myself or Sonny or Steven, like the fact that, you know, if people are locked in their houses, it's like, well, at least I can watch, you know, an entire, right. I could literally like spend an entire weekend just watching This Is Hardcore videos on Hate 56, like going back to the years.
Dude, the Philly guy. Oh, he's so good.
Yeah.
And you know that it's funny because it makes us like kind of forced to give Twitch musicians so much more props, because they've like developed this system and a way to make the video, like almost a video conferencing musician, like engaging. Mm-hmm. It's like very impressive. And they're at it they're literally performing and practicing for like an hour or so, or however long they stream every day for these people.
Yeah.
And then we got non-artists that like, well, and then we got artists that don't normally do that, like DJs doing full sets on stream now. Pretty cool. Then you had like Code Orange did that live show for nobody.
Yeah,
that was badass.
Insane. I feel like historical was the only word that I can really sum it up. Yeah.
I mean, You definitely. I didn't even think about the fact that that is probably a first. Band has full production for live show for no audience because of a virus.
And like play like their ass off as far as like performance wise, and just like
Are we surprised though? They're Code Orange. Of course they are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty standard.
Yeah. But like you said, it's kind of in an interesting time as far as like, you know, Code Orange is an example. Drain is another example of putting out a new record and trying to figure out like, all right, how are we gonna, like, you know, if touring isn't the option or that we can do right now, like what are the other ways? Another point that I wanted to bring up before we kind of finish things off here. You are big on, well, we kind of talked about like, you know, making content and things like that for your band. And something that I noticed about you is that you're heavily involved in like photography around the bands that you're a part of, but also the bands that you're touring with. So can you get like, first off, you know, get the technical like mojo out of you as far as like what you shoot with, what you know, do all that. But sure, maybe we can kind of transition into like, you know, because I think a lot of bands, you know, tend to like, I'm on tour and that's all I'm doing, and I'm just gonna be on my phone in between. But like, you know, it seems like you're doing a lot on top of, you know, playing every day once you guys are regularly on tour.
Oh yeah, I keep myself real busy every day. In fact, that was like a big point of contention with any touring relationships I had, like with my girlfriend at home. It's like, you never talk to me on tour. Like, what are you doing all day? I'm like, I am busy. Like the moment I wake up, I'm doing something, and I'm not on my phone. I'm on my phone less on tour than I am ever, which is wild.
Wow.
But I shoot with Sony. That's what I started with. I really don't have any other frame of reference. Like my first camera was the mirrorless. I never got a regular DSLR. I started with the A6000. I moved to the 6500, and now I have the A7 III. Nice. I kind of wish I still shot crop though, because the more you learn about, you know, being a photographer, the more you learn that gear doesn't really matter. Right. It does help. Like there's certain things that the A7 can do that the crop bodies can't, that really help in this type of environment, especially low light. But yeah, I got into it thinking I'd supply more BTS for the band. And I was constantly surrounded by such amazing photographers and video guys. So I kind of just used that to my advantage. I was like, I wanted to get into it anyways. So I used the fact that I was around these really talented guys and to help me decide on gear and like what to do. And I just, being kind of tech oriented, it was kind of easy to pick up because there's a lot of like tech involved. And especially with the newer Sony cameras, they do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. It's kind of, sometimes it kind of feels like cheating, but yeah. And then I realized how addicting it was. And like, I just became obsessed. And now I like, you know, try to do it as much as I can. I love lifestyle. Video is still new to me, but I love shooting lifestyle, just like capturing like those candid moments. Yeah. There's something so pure about it.
Yeah. Would you say that it's more like the style is lifestyle, or is it more like portraits, like, or are you just more concerned of capturing those candid moments?
I mean, I like shooting most things. I'm terrible. I feel like I'm pretty bad at landscape and wildlife. I'm fine with portraits, I guess. I don't really have any good actual lights, so I have to use pretty natural stuff. Yeah. So I think that's kind of like why I like lifestyle. Like you just make the moment work. You find the beauty in the moment, or wherever that emotion lies. That's the fun part.
Do you feel like that?
It's also very fulfilling. Like this instant gratification. If you get the shot, like you got it, and it's there. Yay! Mission accomplished. It's cool.
Do you feel like that like unintentional process of documenting the band while on tour and things like that has turn some heads as far as like people being like, yeah, like I started listening to your band because of, you know, all the behind the scenes, or do you feel like it's added more credibility of any way? Like
what? I mean, maybe I don't think I've produced enough content for it to really matter. Well, I'd say where it has been helpful, I've done playthroughs for the band, so like just having somebody on deck that we don't have to outsource to do certain stuff has been helpful. But I can't be in it. That's the only problem.
Right.
So like I've taught Connor how to use it some, and our merch guy, Brennan, who's our good friend, he shoots Canon, but he's used the Sony as well, so he's been very helpful in producing some content. But yeah, I mean, not to like take off work on the table for any touring photographers, because we still need one. Like I can't do it all.
You're not gonna selfie it on stage or anything.
Yeah, I have kind of done that though.
Oh, you have?
I have shot in our set during our show.
Oh, okay.
I've taken pictures of the band during like mid set of us.
Wow.
I did it on the last tour 2 or 3 times. Because we did like an 8-minute song and I was only in 2 minutes of it, so I had to. I would plan it. I'll have to show you those pictures. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. I've never heard that before. But
that was the thing. I've never seen anybody do that before. I've never seen anybody take pictures of their own band. So yeah. I don't know if that's corny or not. I try to not do it a lot, but
right.
Like I didn't do it in LA in front of all of our team. Even though I could have.
Yeah. But I think like the overall point that you hit on is like just why am I blanking on that? The overall point being just like, you know, having someone in house. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Versus you know, and totally being okay. Like if a band's like I've met tons of people where I'm like, hey, like here's the Dropbox for this like set or whatever, and they're like, I'm so not like technically inclined or like don't know anything.
Dude.
And I'm like, okay, if I
had to switch services because of this. Yeah. I was using Google Photos at first, but I was like, nobody knows how to use Google Photos for some reason. It's the same fucking thing. So I just switched to Dropbox.
Right. Yeah. But overall, like if you have someone who knows anything about cameras or anything, and you can figure out a way to make some shit in-house, and if you know that no one in your band does have that, it's like, okay, like who's a homie in our local circle that we can like bring in to just help us create a content pool, create a library, because you know, like and I don't say this in a like a egotistical way, but like ultimately without photographers or videographers, bands would just be posters and music.
100%. So,
yeah,
there would be no history.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like just, I don't know, just weird things as far as like seeing the process of like, you know, like I don't know why this just came to mind, but like I remember like Brian from Knocked Loose for example, like always had like long hair, wore that like flat brim or baseball hat, and then he like cut it and it was like this big deal. But like having that process as far and it wasn't like, hey, I mean, look at me. I look ridiculous. Yeah,
that was kind of the goal.
Yeah, cool. Well, JT, this has been a blast as far as like chatting about you and chatting about things around content.
Likewise.
And, things for the band. The way that we end all these podcasts is either a favorite mosh story from a show that you were either playing or just were in attendance,
okay,
or and usually it's like I lead with that. People usually choose that, but if there's not anything physically eye-opening that you want to share, usually just a favorite show story, anything that you want to kind of like a fun little anecdote to kind of end things off.
Favorite show story? God, I got nothing. I got shows that I like that I will remember forever.
Sure.
The first show that I ever went to was technically a huge festival. I think I know I was 15. I don't even think I had been to local shows yet. My parents didn't let me. I was swimming. I was like a swimmer for a long time, so I was like pretty balls deep into like just schoolwork and swimming 24/7 for my teenage years. So I didn't really have a lot of time to go to concerts or like extracurriculars.
Sure.
But I had a good family friend who was like my metal guru. Who was like, he came from like a really nice, like wealthy family. But he was like a big like punk and like metal guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like one of the kids that went to like a private school and like your uniform is like shirt and tie, but he had plugs. Yeah, like that, like kid like that. So perfect.
Sure.
So the first show that I ever went to is one that he took me to. It was 2005 Sounds of the Underground tour. And As Lay Dying was headlining it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just become obsessed with them. And Shadows Our Security just came out that year. So it's like the most stacked tour ever. It was Through the Eyes of the Undead. Horse the Band was playing. Okay. Trivium, In Flames, As Lay Dying, Gwar, Municipal Waste, The Chariot with Josh. Like, fuck. Amazing show. Amazing show. And then As Lay Dying set, since they only had like 2 records out, they played like the perfect set for me at the time. It's like, oh, if I wanted a song, like a set and like my choosing, this is literally the exact set. Like it was perfect.
Right.
Such a good experience.
Sweet.
It was weird. I was 15. And it's weird to think that those guys are not much older than me on that stage doing that, but I didn't think about that until now.
Yeah.
And now that I've met them and tour with them, it's just like, it's so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. It is very strange. Like, you know, you were mentioning like, oh, you make me feel so old bringing back my YouTube days. I'm like, I'll go to shows and be like, oh, you are still in high school. And I'm like, this is.
That's like the weirdest
crazy
thing. Music is such like it's been like such a journey. You know, like just like, no, I don't think anybody wakes up or like gets born and just like, I just want to be on a stage and like sing for people. Like that wasn't me. Like it was something I thought about was cool, but it was never something I like strive to do.
Right.
So I don't really feel any different from that same kid, like from like being 15, like on the side of the pool, getting ready for my race, just like big ass white Skull Candy headphones on my head, and an iPod Classic, just going through like my 05, 07 metalcore.
Yeah.
Like I still feel like that person.
Mm-hmm.
It's strange.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I don't think I'll ever let go of who that person is or what that feels like.
Yeah. No, and I'm huge on staying humble and not letting, you know, the steps of any amount of success change personality. So
I try. I can be an asshole sometimes, but I don't think it's because of what I do. I think it's just being an asshole.
Fair. Sweet. Well, JT, I really appreciate your time for
Thank you.
for you to come on. Yeah, of course. Like I said, like 2010 Spencer would be very stoked if he knew that this was a thing.
Pleasure to be here.
Anything you want to plug or, you know, shout out as far as like handles, new ERRA shit coming up?
Yeah. Definitely keep your eyes and ears peeled. We have a new record coming out, hopefully as soon as we can. But you're definitely going to hear some singles and some really cool announcements from us soon. If you're an ERRA fan, you're going to be extremely surprised in a good way.
Cool.
I know bands say that all the time, but this is definitely one of those moments.
Cool. Awesome. Well, again, JT, thanks for coming on, and I'll hold you to that LDB 2021 offer that you shared.
You got it.